Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Why, hello there, and a good morning to you. I cheated death on my way to work. I'll tell you. Woo! My sister Susan is here, I think. Hello?
Hi.
Hi, Suze. So, I'm coming up in the elevator here with a nice young gentleman, and he pushes 15, I push 21, and off we go, and then all of a sudden,
Lynn?
Oh, shit. Excuse me. Yes? 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 Hello? We finally died? We finally died. Shh.
Here.
Hey, Suze, I know. We're going to call you back.
Bye.
You can hear us. Bye. No, we're calling her back. She hung up. I'll tell you, state-of-the-art equipment, which is exactly what was the case in the elevator. God, those elevators are scary. I'm hardly the only one in this building that thinks so. The elevator stopped with this strange, like grind and suddenness. Like this. And the young man looked at me with a look of some I won't say terror. Jesus Christ.
All right.
Okay, why don't we start this one over?
Much better.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm screaming now.
Well, that's why I can hear you.
Right, but that's because I'm annoyed. So anyway, we're going up in the elevator, and it grinds to this frightening, sudden stop. And I say to the guy, we're looking at each other, I said, I think we might be stuck, because people do get stuck in these elevators. And I got stuck once. And then miraculously the door opens, and we are on his floor. And he gets out, and he turns around to me, and he said, I really think you should get out too. So I did. I decamped. God. You know, it's not often when you ride in an elevator that you think you are in a dangerous thing. And incredibly, these elevators in this building make you feel that way. That's not good. Susan?
Yeah, I like it better when you're yelling.
Son of a...
I gather you didn't get stuck in the elevator. You got out.
Yeah. You mean you didn't hear the rest of what I said?
Well, if you talk in a normal voice, it's hard to get every...
Oh, no, but I can't be screaming at everybody
No,
else.
you can't. I can hear you. I'm concentrating mightily.
Oh, but you shouldn't have to. Okay, I'll just try to keep my mouth close to the mic. That's what I'll do. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, if your mouth is close to the mic, I can hear.
Okay, well then I will. It reminds me of the time I started working in radio and my mouth was, close to the mic. And I shared this mic with all the other talk jocks on this talk station. And in the evening, it was sports talk with an iconic Pittsburgher named Myron Cope. And Myron was an old, wondrous character. And he apparently went ballistic on his show one night, saying, The mic is all red. It's red. What did they let these girlies in to all of a sudden do talk, and I got lipstick all over this mic? I can't. He went nuts. And so that's how close it's going to be. And can you imagine how filthy a mic is?
Yeah, don't breathe through your mouth.
Well, what am I? Okay, so now I've got my mouth. I'm going to try not to touch it, and at the same time, I will breathe through my nose. I don't think. Okay, so here I am again, taking my life in my hands to do this program. I cheated death once already this morning, and we will continue apace. Oy vey. So, Susan.
So did you see Pittsburgh made the front page of the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. Pittsburgh is on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, guys. And actually, the first thing it mentions is a restaurant that I know Celine went to last week. Remember, you said she juggles a lot of dates. Let me just say, you were going to, wait a minute, did you not say? I said, well, where are you going? And you said 6 Penn, right? Front page, Wall Street Journal, 6 Penn, 6 Penn. Was it any good? Not so great. Did you eat a salad that seemed a little weird? You did? Did you ask what was in it? Did you know what was in it? Because the story is about what was in it, in all likelihood. It was knotweed, K-N-O-T, knotweed. That might have been it, huh? Okay, she's thinking maybe that was it. I mean, there's no reason a weed...
Well, it's supposed to taste like rhubarb.
It said rhubarb, but also somebody else said lemon, like when you cut a lemon. So it seems like it's very tart. And although some people say sour.
Well, so is rhubarb, yeah.
Yeah. Did you taste something like that, Celine? It was not weed. There's a whole article here. It's titled, Pittsburgh is Eating the Weed That Ate Pittsburgh, which is a bit of a stretch. But it's funny because I was noting yesterday when I was driving on Bigelow Boulevard above, there's a stretch of it above the Allegheny where you're just in just this incredible, contained in like greenery on both sides. But I noticed the greenery looked strange to me. It didn't look like... It looked like a bunch of weeds, probably. Weeds even up into the trees or vines and this and that. And they're saying here that knotweed is just going nuts on our vacant lots, on riverbanks, and it says here it is savagely invasive. So you can't possibly eat enough, is the... But how?
No, and if you read enough of the articles,
yeah.
they aren't serving up the stuff that's eating up Pittsburgh because it's growing out of ground that is contaminated, and they don't want to serve you lead-soaked knotweed.
Yes, right. So they go all the way out to Blairsville or some other place.
It's cultivated, I get the sense.
I don't think so.
Well, they talked about selling knotweed plants.
But why cultivate it when you can go to a more pristine place and just...
Because they're suggesting the places aren't pristine.
Well, it's not like the whole damn state is a polluted site, hazardous waste site. Maybe just 3/4 of it. Oy. Anyway, they're saying if you can't beat it, eat it. And where did this invasive species come from? It came from the English.
Well, it actually go back a little further. They got it from, I think, China.
Oh, it says East Asia, Susan. You're assuming China. Okay.
I am.
East Asia by way of England, where they used it as a ground cover. But anyway, what's weird is they're using it that, this is a foodie paradise now, apparently, Pittsburgh. We got more chefs per square inch, and everybody's, trying to out, I don't know. Some of the crap that's being put on plates is ridiculous to me, but I'm a meat and potatoes kind of a girl. anyway, they're making beer out of this knotweed. There's a brewery around here that's doing that. There's a place in Garfield that's making ice pops out of it for $4 a pop. A knotweed ice pop. That'd be a tough sell to me. And then there's some woman making honey out of it. And she won a big award in San Francisco for her rosemary knotweed honey, which sells for $12 at the retail level. So it's pricey stuff. Just want you to know, Pittsburgh made the Wall Street Journal front page today because, unbeknownst to you, if you go to the trendier restaurants in town, you've been eating weeds.
Well, you know what they say. A weed is just a flower nobody wants.
That's right. That is what it is. So it says here, anyway, this is not a good way to control them. Who needs thousands of acres of garnish, somebody says. So there you have it. All right. It's always such a thrill when a national newspaper talks about your city and tells you something you don't know, which happens more than I think should, because I always wonder, well, how come, and I'm not something like this, but how come I'm reading about this in the New York Times, let's say, as opposed to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where I should be reading about it? So I got my formal invitation to my 50th high school reunion. Only
you really got a formal invitation? It wasn't just an email?
No, well, it's emailed, but it's emailed. But it's so typically Green Bay East High, class of 66. It's
at is it at the same old place?
The Spot?
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
It's a supper club.
Oh, a supper club. Remember those? What did that mean, a supper club? Why did we call them supper clubs?
I don't know, but it's a Midwest tradition.
We have a call, I think. Hang on. Hello?
Hello, Lynn. This is Joe calling.
Hi, Joe.
First of all, I want to say, take a disinfected wipe to Mike, and Mike will just be just fine.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. Yes, thank you. Okay, all right.
But do you remember back when I called and you said, you like Donald Trump? Well, I don't. I realize I hate him as much as Ted Cruz now.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
Myself for some of the things he said, but I hate him as much as I hate Cruz, so I'm pretty much...
Okay, you've been talked off the edge or whatever.
I mean, I think the guy's a friggin' moron. I mean, I see him up and I think that guy cannot be president. There's no way.
Well, you're saying that as a resolve on your part to do what you can, but yes, he can be president.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, but if he becomes president, oh, jeez. I mean, I don't even think he's even a good businessman.
No.
I think he's a fraud. And I think that's why he's holding back his taxes and all that.
Sure.
Because I think he really didn't make that much money. And he probably filed bankruptcy a lot to make money off of it. And he's a fraud.
Well, you know what he is? He's sort of a con artist. He's sort of he's sort of a Barnum and Bailey character. He's just he's an operator.
Right.
That's what he is.
I just feel these Democrats that are going to vote for him, they got to be morons.
Well,
hopefully there aren't too many of them.
Well, there's plenty. Well, there's plenty of them. What are you talking about? What are these? I mean, it's just amazing to me, all the people. We know people who are voting for him, and the thing is, they're not morons. I mean, there's some of them highly educated, even nice human beings. So go figure.
And here in Beaver County, they love him.
Oh, heck, Beaver County, it's going to be a landslide.
Oh, yeah, they love him here.
I know.
So I don't know what to say.
Well, don't put a Hillary bumper sticker on your pickup or whatever.
I've got Trump signs. My neighbors have them. A lot of them.
Sure. Hey, the Trump sign on my street disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you can borrow my idea and put a sign next to it that says, "I'm an idiot and I'm voting for."
That's pretty good.
Okay, well, that'd give you something to do. Why don't you have a bunch of those signs made up, and in the dead of night, go around and stick those up next to all those neighbors' Trump signs? That'd be funny. Yeah, you could also get shot too. Right. Well, I don't know. It's a possibility that nincompoop, dangerous person could be the president of the United States. If what we're going to find out is just how many morons there are in the United States, or how many people there are in the U.S. who are willing to play fast and loose with this country's future, the world's future, and our reputation. I mean, we'll see.
Yep.
God help us. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
You got David Brooks trying. He can't even talk about Trump, so he's only talking about Hillary, and he's not talking about her in a way that's, he's just trying to figure out why people don't like her.
Well,
hopefully there's enough people that care about the country that will get to the polls. I'm so miserable. I wish we would get this over with so we knew the end of the story.
Well,
and I'm really getting, and Bernie should be spanked.
Well, he
just turns out that he's the same narcissistic personality disorder as the rest of them.
Yeah. He's not.
And the other thing is we got Trump calling the people that are for him fans. So just in case you think he thinks this whole thing is a reality show, the people that are for him are his fans.
I know. And I've talked about that before, that you see even in articles written about him, that the word fan shows up as opposed to voter. And it shows this unbelievable confusion.
Idiocy.
Well, back to the column you referenced, David Brooks' column. I just want to share a little bit of it with you. David Brooks is purportedly a Republican, but
he's now been writing columns in favor of Obama for the last 8 years.
Well, because
I have to rethink them. But go ahead.
So he starts it by saying, I understand why Donald Trump is so unpopular. He earned it. He's obnoxious, insulting, and offensive. But then he says, but why is Hillary so unpopular? And stop and think. Try to answer that question to yourself, because I think there is a level. Well, the answer, we'll share the answer he comes up with, which might have something to do with it, but I don't think it's the whole picture at all. I think there's something irrational going on.
It's just bred in the bone misogyny.
You think it's just sexism?
I just think I've said it before and I'll say it again, that the same people that couldn't believe that they were going to be ruled by a black man go, okay, this is it, I'm not a woman.
Maybe. But why are there a lot of women who won't vote for her?
Well, you know my views on that, too. Women have never been all that supportive of other women. Not to sound like, what's her name? Our 3 times ago Secretary of State.
Yeah, with the brooches. I wanted to say, you know what name came? Albright. I was going to say
Madeleine
I was
Albright.
going to say Margaret Atwood, but
Margaret, I was too. I was coming up with I had the right initials and the wrong name.
You had Margaret Atwood too. Margaret Atwood, Madeleine Albright. What's the difference? It's it's a broad. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look. Why are we I understand why we're spending all this time talking about Bill Clinton, but really, why aren't we looking at Donald's wife?
Well, because she doesn't have a public record. I mean,
well, yeah, she does. It's mostly naked on the cover of magazines.
No, I don't think she's fair game. But there's never been a potential presidential spouse who was already the president for 8 years. So this is uncharted territory in that regard. But you know what? I think the Brooks
Did
point...
you see what Ken Starr said, speaking of that?
Blah. What?
Well, he refers to his time as the chief prosecutor of Clinton, as a special prosecutor, as that unfortunate time, and he thinks that he's sort of come full circle and decided that it overshadowed a lot of the good that a good president did and was unfortunate.
Well, fine and dandy, Ken.
He landed as president of Baylor.
I know. Nice of you to come around to your senses after you put the country through what?
Hell.
Ken, way to go, buddy. Shit.
Yep.
I'm so sick of these people who do so much damage.
And he uses these Victorian terms. He won't even
like
that
what?
unfortunate time.
Oh, that unfortunate time. Well, he doesn't want to think that he oversaw a debacle of just extraordinary proportion. So, back to poor David Brooks, who's probably drinking himself to sleep these days. And think about this. Hillary Clinton was just a few years ago. Yeah? Yeah. When did she stop being Secretary of State? She was...
About 2 years ago.
2 years ago, right. And her approval rating, this is when she's very much in the public eye, right? The public seeing her. Her approval rating was sky high. It was higher than the president's. It was 66%. Americans watched her work and they thought, wow. So, what's the difference? Even when, a year ago they had dropped when she was, clearly running for president, but they were still way up beyond where she is now. But the minute she really started running, bang-o, the people decided they hated her. Now, here's Brooks comes up. I think he really had to think this one through, but there's something to what he says. He says, he asks a question. Can you tell me what Hillary Clinton does for fun? Yeah. Anybody?
Well, does it occur to you that this is her fun?
Yeah. But it's, all work and no play.
No, but it's like asking what my husband did for fun.
Or our father.
Right. It was fun to them.
But he's saying people generally don't like workaholics. But why does he say that? Because I don't know that that's true.
You don't know that it's true. Just because she's managed to have a little private part of herself, good for her.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what he comes up with. She is absolutely, and you do hear people say, she just doesn't seem like anybody, I can't, and
people wouldn't want to have a beer with her?
Yeah, it's classic. Yeah, right. So he says she gives off an exclusively professional vibe, industrious, calculated, goal-oriented, distrustful, he throws in. It's hard from the outside to have a sense of her as a person. Well, why? What about a person who's industrious, who is ambitious, who's really competent as hell, and who loves that and loves her family?
Can I just say that is the only way that a woman of a certain age could have gotten anywhere in the time that she was going. She had to out-professional the professionals.
Yeah, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg likes opera and works out a lot.
I don't know. That's not what I think of when I think of Ruth Bader. I think of her cute little lace collars and her hairdo and the Supreme Court. I don't think of her going to the opera.
But I'm saying she has a more nuanced personality anyway. So here is what finally Brooks says. This formal, career-oriented persona puts her in direct contrast with the mores of the social media age, which is intimate, personalist, revealing, trusting, and vulnerable. It puts her in conflict with most people's experience. And because of that, in this age where everybody's sharing everything.
So we're required to overshare?
Yes. And because she doesn't do that, she seems Machiavellian. Susan, are you standing in the highway?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the dog to go out. I'll stop.
Okay. So look, but here again, I will hazard this. This tortured column by David Brooks attempting to come to some understanding of why people can't stand Hillary Clinton would never be written if she had a penis, because the question wouldn't arise. I don't think there's any doubt about that. All of the things
wouldn't arise.
No, all the things she's being said to be guilty of are they're nothing.
Why do we ever want to see a man president's softer side?
Well, these days a little bit, I suppose. But I mean, it's just beyond belief. It's beyond belief. I don't understand the irrational. Now, as I've said before, I'm not wild about her myself, but part of that is the whole family, I've had enough. I mean, the 8 years of Bill in the White House almost did me in. And 8 more with her. It's just going to, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's what they engender by their mere, presence in the White House from the Republicans. The Republicans go, I'll use Lindsey Graham's phrase, batshit crazy. And they went batshit crazy with Barack Obama. And we're going to do it again.
Yeah, we have for several years now been led around by the tail of the dog that is the most obnoxious in the country. Just the total haters.
You see Jimmy Carter, unbelievable. Jimmy Carter, who we were supposed to have buried by now, is now organizing some kind of he thinks the United States is clearly, the racism here is so clear now that now's a real good time to try to have us deal with it. And I don't think America will ever deal with it. I just don't see us having the ability.
Well, it's several generations away, I'll tell you that much.
Maybe.
Our only hope is
I
through...
don't know, Suze. You're talking as an urban parent and grandparent. I think the world in which we inhabit, we see that. But I'm not so sure in, that small town, rural America, that these lessons of race are not still being carefully taught.
Well, someone's carefully teaching them.
It just keeps coming. So I just want to touch on what was a big story yesterday, but not a surprising one, and that is that the police officer in Baltimore was found not guilty in the death of Freddy Gray. I said when the prosecutor came out and said that she was going to charge all 6 officers, I thought, stupid. There's no way. And all you're doing is setting up your community for absolute disappointment. They didn't have that strong a case against every officer there. And because there were 6 officers, it might be they don't have a real strong case against any single officer. I don't know. But
he was also he had smart counsel who said go before the judge who will where you will have the most likelihood that he will be ruled by the law as opposed to his emotion.
But even the first cop who went on trial in front of a jury, that jury did not find him guilty.
They were hung.
They were hung. He'll be retried. But I think, I understand, at the time, Baltimore was, it was a tinderbox and even in flames. And I'm sure that the charging, as I recall, of all these officers helped calm things down, helped tamp things down. So at the time, I think it was more a political move than it was a smart legal move. And now we'll see the result of that, because it's just going to mean that Baltimore could well erupt again if all of these officers are found not guilty. I don't know. I think it was it shouldn't have. The guy who got off, it's true. He was just there,
Right.
Although it is so maddening how a young black man can end up in the custody of the police, handcuffed, and end up dead. Why? Why? And no one pays. No one's responsible. It just sort of happened. Yeah? Unbelievable. It just sort of happens. Way too much. Speaking of a different kind of racism, one we don't generally hear about, this is racism toward Asian Americans. A coalition of Asian American groups have asked the Department of Education to investigate a number of Ivy League schools, Brown being one, Yale being another, Dartmouth. And they are alleging that all of those schools discriminate against Asian American students attempting to get in.
But they put a quota on them?
Yeah, they're saying there are clear quotas on how many Asians they'll let in. Somehow, I know this is true, because all these schools are thinking, what? We want 80%, 90% Asians? You got to have some whites. You got to have a black or a Hispanic somewhere. And here is what they are going to argue in part, that academic research shows that Asian Americans have to score, on average, about 140 points higher than white students to get in, about 270 points higher than Hispanic students to get in, and get this, about 450 points higher than African American students to simply equal their chances of gaining admission. Now, I have little doubt that that's the case. In my parents' time, this is what happened to Jewish students. There were quotas on Jews at all the finest institutions. They didn't want a bunch of Jews with their good academic records coming in and knocking out nice Christian people, white Christian people who are trying to go to college. So it was well known that there were quotas. I went to Northwestern University, and I was in the first year that Northwestern lifted its quota on Jews. They admit it. We're lifting the quota on Jews. And sure enough, my class had a bunch of troublemaking Jews who immediately, were a big part of the anti-war movement there, the women's liberation movement, exactly what the Northwestern folks had feared. You let in these Jews, and there's nothing but trouble. But Jews know from quotas. So quotas can go, both ways.
Well, this is just re-arguing all of the case law in this regard, and some of them have gone one way and some of them have gone the other. But the University of Michigan case, where the white person ruled that, is alleged that they were discriminated against in order to give black students a place, and they won. So it's what, and Michigan argued that in order to create a diverse student body, there were, that the grade points and other things were not the end all and be all, that there was an educational benefit to creating a diverse population. And that argument has worked in other places.
Right. Well, it depends, depends on the judge, I guess, and the ability of it's a very sticky issue. But if merit were all there was, if you're just looking at SAT scores, but I mean it's not just that. I'm sure a lot of these Asian American kids, not only they also probably are, have all the required, out of school programs and stuff and blah 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 blah, and anyone can tell you. I mean, the Asian population in Oakland is just off the charts where the universities are. And they're not all Asian Americans. These are Asians coming in from, other countries, a lot of Chinese and others. Sometimes, and I'm sitting at Forbes and whatever on the CMU campus and Morewood at a stoplight, and students are streaming across the crosswalk. You're hard-pressed to find any student but an Asian student. It is. And I suppose, I don't know. You know what? There's also affirmative action going on now for men, just for males, because women are starting
especially in liberal arts colleges, in the smaller liberal arts colleges, they just want guys.
But the guys are not showing up on paper as well as the girls who are applying. And so seemingly a girl who has better scores and all that stuff could lose a position at a school because they've just got to let a boy in. And this is something that everybody knows is going on college campuses. Everybody knows it. So I don't blame this Asian American coalition for going after this because it doesn't seem right.
I'm sure everything they are saying is absolutely correct.
Well, they did go after Harvard a few years back, and they lost. They lost the case. Now they're going again. I hope. I don't know.
Well, the argument is really no different than, a lot of high-achieving kids that have spent their high school careers joining every club and doing all their service projects and taking every AP course and getting their 4 points or their 4.8 points or whatever they get now. And, they don't get in either because there's just too many equally qualified people for too few slots. I mean, this has been going on forever.
I don't know. Boy, we school our boys and girls really early on being anxious, competitive, crazed American, don't we? I think the whole system is so effed up, it's beyond belief. I would no more have gotten into Northwestern University today with what I presented to them when I graduated from high school than Mickey Mouse would have. And yet I was somebody worth taking a shot at. I was bright and a little screwed up, but whatever. But, people come out of different... I came out of a school that didn't really offer AP. It didn't really offer college level, going to college level.
Well, 90% of the kids that we went to high school with didn't go to college.
Right.
And of those that did, most of them stayed in the University of Wisconsin system. I think my year, I was like one of 3 kids that went out of state. And as I recall, I did that with your help. I think you wrote my essay.
Are you kidding me?
No, I was too lazy.
Why, that's fraud.
It's okay. When I got there, I had to go to the classes and do it myself.
Jeez, Suze. I can't believe I did that. Was it good, though?
Good enough. I don't know that anybody even read it. The other thing that happened is that there was an earthquake at my interview.
Oh, that
helps, too. I went in and had an interview, and there was an earthquake, and literally the desk moved across the room, and such that the guy and I were now sitting across from each other, not with the desk in between us.
Oh, my God. Well,
and I just looked at him, and he said, earthquake. And I said, well, that's a sign from God.
And what exactly was God saying? God was saying...
Well, that was the problem. We didn't quite know how to interpret it. But I got in, and the rest is history.
Yeah. The rest is history. I had a thought when you were talking, and I damned if I can remember it. Shoot. I hate that.
Talk about something else, it'll come back.
Okay. So, the New York Times had an editorial the other day, and I just loved the opening lines because it's so true. I didn't even mention last week when the Secretary of the Army was confirmed by the Congress. And normally I wouldn't, but in this case, the Secretary of the Army that was confirmed is an openly gay man.
Right.
And the fact that I didn't even talk about it says something, and that's what the Times is saying. They're saying, last week, an openly gay man, Eric Fanning, became Secretary of the Army. Read that sentence again and contemplate what it reveals about how much and how quickly American society has changed. Because only 5 years ago, openly gay people were not allowed to even serve in our armed forces.
How many years ago was it that homosexuality was removed from the DSM as a mental disorder?
But I got to tell you, right? So, but it's just going faster and faster. But I want to point out here that is why, in part, the speed of this kind of social change has unsettled millions and millions of Americans who are very slow to adapt. And those are the people who we're calling morons. Those are the people who are probably voting Trump, not all of them, but they just feel like they don't even recognize the world anymore. And I can empathize with that. I can, because it is hard for people to let go of everything they've known, but and to then accept it. It's going to take time. So as usual, these social issues become what gets Republicans into office. And even if they're not talking against gays anymore, they found the next best thing, the transgender thing, and don't think that will propel a lot.
Oh, no, bathrooms, right. I mean, bathrooms defeated the ERA.
Yeah, and they could defeat Hillary Clinton. Bathrooms. It's something talk about something people understand. People feel vulnerable when their pants are down, okay? So that's why a bathroom is a place that can really make people
Here's what
irrational.
I don't get. Okay, I mean, I don't get why it's okay for men to go into their public bathrooms and have to expose themselves to each other, and that's just fine. You know, I mean, why is that fine with you, all you homophobic guys, that you have to go and, you know, let yourself hang out and use communal potties? I wouldn't, if this is how we feel about bathrooms, I would have started there first. That this is a thing that men deserve as much privacy as women do, and if we all had stalls, then nobody would care.
That might be. There is something there about how in a man's bathroom there is exposure that goes on. In a woman's bathroom, there is no such thing. So why don't...
Well, again, I was reading an interesting article about this, about a transgendered man, so started as a woman and is now a man, and was, you know, using the man's bathroom. Oh, no, it was a man that transgendered to woman, and the company that she worked for insisted that she go into the men's bathroom. And, you know, and she said, you know, she was just trying to get into the stall, but then when she's at the sink, you know, there's just some man who just locks eyes with her and glares at her like, what are you doing here? And you know, and what kind of I think we just need to look at this from the human experience of these people. I don't know why people would assume that anybody would pick this as a way they wanted to live, unless it was really something that they felt down, so that they were the sex that they were identifying with. And I don't get where the lack of empathy is with that. And
I think a lot of people don't have empathy to start with. That's not a universal, you know, we didn't all get the same amount when, you know, God passed it out. And some people, in terms of empathy, I mean, goes totally out the window, even some empathetic people, when you're talking about something as private as your privates.
But, I mean, you know, again, because what I'm reading is, you know, that people just scream with great pleasure. Well, they're nuts. I mean, it's a mental disorder. They're just sick, which A is not true.
Right.
And B, even if it were true, who gives you the right to then scream that somebody has a mental disorder and and protect me from that? I mean, you know, where does that get you?
Well, I think, you know, I think you read the same thing that I read, which is a woman, transgender woman in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who transitioned in 2013, and her boss walked up to her and said, "Have you had the surgery?" And she says to us, "Have you ever talked about your genitals with a superior at work? Because it's not exactly a party." And she said that she told the supervisor, "No, I haven't had the surgery." And that's when the supervisor said, "Well, then you'll have to use the men's bathroom until you do."
Well, and let's discuss the number of ways that question broke the law.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, no employer has the right to ask you about your current medical history. HIPAA protects that. Second of all, nobody's allowed to discriminate against anybody on the basis of gender identity or sex. And three, I would think that it would be just absolutely the question on the face, sexual harassment.
Well, you're in Chattanooga and you got a job and you don't want to make trouble, whatever. So she ends up going into the men's room and getting the stares and the hostility. And she ends her little piece with this. And this is where you hope some people might finally get their heads around it. And that is this. The main thing I wish the supporters of these bathroom laws would realize is that we, meaning trans people, we are much more frightened of you than you are of us. Imagine a kid in school who's now told that he identifies as a female, and now has to go into the boys' bathroom. What the hell do you think happens in that boys' bathroom?
What's going to happen other than he's going to get the crap beaten out of him every time he tries to go in there?
Yeah. And if instead she was allowed to go into the girls' bathroom and do her business in the privacy of a stall, which all the other girls are doing too, no one's going to get hurt. No one's going to get raped. No one's going to, all of this is, the insanity of it is mind-boggling.
And if it bothers you, don't use the public bathroom. I have to say, I have survived most of my life not using public bathrooms because I don't like them.
Yeah. Well, that's what this poor woman ended up doing. She said, I got to the point where I simply would not go to the bathroom at work, and she got a urinary infection as a result. And she also...
So she stopped drinking water.
She'd be dehydrated. Good God in heaven. Unbelievable. And, what was I watching the other day when I was taken back to the civil rights era? And I was listening to what the conservatives were saying about if you allow blacks in here, then what's going to protect your wives and your children? If blacks are allowed to use the same bathrooms as we are, do you want a black man standing next to... And this is the things that were said in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And if you read what was said by members of the... Oh, I know what I was watching, and I recommend it. It's Bryan Cranston as Lyndon Baines Johnson in an HBO movie that just came out this weekend.
Yeah, he's getting raves.
And it is amazing because what it does, it's about his trying to get the Civil Rights Act through. And it's very historically correct. And so you see and hear what politicians and people on the floor of the U.S. Senate and House were saying. And it is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. That's what we listened to not so terribly long ago. And people believed. The idea was simply horrific to huge numbers of Americans that black people could use the same bathrooms as us. And in fact, we were told if that happens, it's the end. It's the end. Okay, everybody. Look, was it? No. How many times do Republicans, well, that's when they became Republicans, how many times do these bigoted conservatives get to play this terror game of if you allow those people to do this, what we're doing, it's the end of everything. Your daughters get raped, your wives are killed, you're this, you're that. And we're seeing it again. They've got this playbook down. They used it for black people. They've used it for gay people. Now they're using it for trans people. They'll use it for immigrants. They'll use it for any... And every time, everything they say is found to be bullshit. Excuse the directness. Bullshit. And that's what this trans stuff is now. But man, Republicans don't win if they don't scare the bejeebers out of people with their lies. How can you be a conservative who was on the wrong side of history all the way through? all the way through. How do you get to do that? I mean, how does a thinking person still stay on that side when you see you were wrong? You were wrong.
Well, because I disagree with your question. It's not a thinking person.
Well, Susan, but they are. I mean, they're not all idiots. They're not. Some of these are educated people. They're thinking, but they're filtering it through their prism and their cultural experience that blacks are inferior, that gays are sick, that trans people are nuts, that this is their belief. And if
you go to the bathroom in the same place, you'll catch it.
That was a big thing. Oh, we were all going to get venereal disease because those people are not clean. I'm telling you, watch this amazing movie. And watch this amazing movie and be reminded.
Well, don't you think that has a lot to do with why seat covers finally came out for toilets?
I have no idea. Because did they come out about the time
immigration
I think so. Happened?
That's when I started seeing them.
Jesus Christ. I mean, how many times do you get to be proven wrong? How many times do you see that you...
How long before the whole world just gets to look at you and point at you and say, shame on you?
Yeah, you're going this way again? You want to stand on the wrong side of history again? Don't you get sick of losing? But there they are. I guess there are people who are just can't. They find change so terrifying, and if you're a person who finds change difficult, I think we all do. I find change difficult. If you're a person who finds it terrifying in some way, unsettling in some way, man, you're in for a tough life. Especially now when change.
Well, I think that if you react to change as if it's going to hurt you.
Yes.
As if it threatens your very survival, then frankly, I don't know how you get up in the morning if that's how it is, because that's what life is.
Yeah. But I think. But if you are living in the culture we live in, with media taking these the calls of alarm, we're in danger, and amplifying them, and giving them credibility, and giving those amplified voices that have very few facts on their side the same standing and the same time that they give to the other side, not wanting to show a liberal bias. You have to keep giving these people a platform on which to continue to terrorize their fans. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And when you read some of the things that Trump puts out there, it's amazing. I mean, we got part of the country that's just voting for Hitler.
Yeah. Yep.
Using all of just substitute any one of the groups that he's targeted for Jew, and you got it.
Right. It's a way of dehumanizing certain people as you keep culling them separating them from the rest of us. Separate them
versus us.
Separating them. And that's what he does, and that's what all these haters do. And I don't even know if he believes anything he's saying, but...
Well, several of his positions he's been on the record as totally on the other side for his adult life.
Even in one sentence, I heard a quote that he said just the other day that was so hysterical, because in the space of one sentence coming out of his own mouth, he completely contradicted himself. He said something like, I am opposed to guns in school, but I think teachers should have them, should be able to have them.
Right.
That's what he said. Now explain to me.
He said some teachers, of course, need them. I mean, you should see what they have to deal with. As if what they have to deal with is bad students that he's giving them permission to shoot.
Well, you don't know if he meant that, but I gotta tell you.
Well,
how does that the first part of the sentence is contradicted by the second part of the sentence. I do not believe in guns in school.
But when I heard that quote, that's what I was thinking. What, you want him to shoot the bad students?
Well,
because the number of intruders in schools is still, thank God, small enough that that's really not an everyday occurrence that we have to think about.
Okay, lest we end on the unpalatable subject of you-know-who, quickie, this from the New York Times today. What household gadget in South Korea that people use, and we used to, in South Korea, do they believe it will kill you? It can kill you.
A microwave.
A toaster? What do we got? A microwave? A toaster? No.
Can opener?
Nope. An electric fan.
Well,
now that's not what you think.
There.
No, it's not that at all.
It's the breeze.
Yes. Across South Korea, many people believe the whirring blades can cause death. And to address those fears, manufacturers of fans in South Korea have to equip them with timers so they can only stay on for a little bit and then they have to go off. And why is that? Because here's what they think. The cold air circulated in a sealed room could cause hypothermia, leading to organ failure. Or, there's another thing going around there. Maybe they suck out the oxygen, causing suffocation. And some people fear that the fan itself converts oxygen into carbon dioxide. Now, you can believe that, South Koreans are as rational as anybody else. But this is really something that they're...
Well, listen, the point is we can be taught to believe just about anything. The people in North Korea seem to think that funny young man is a god.
Yeah, well, they have to.
And doesn't poop.
Killed. Yeah, but they'd be killed if they didn't. That'd make you believe really fast. They think that this fear of fans killing you, was actually happened in the 1970s when there was a rather authoritarian government in place in South Korea, and they wanted to discourage the citizenry from using too much electricity.
Right. So they sold them a bill of goods.
Do not use your fan at night. But listen to this. Even recently, 2006, okay, just 10 years ago, the state-funded Korean Consumer Protection Board listed asphyxiation from electric fans and air conditioners as one of the top 5 recurring accidents. Here's what that agency said. This is a South Korean agency 10 years ago. If bodies are exposed to electric fans for too long, it causes bodies to lose water and hypothermia. If directly in contact with a fan, this could lead to death from increase of carbon dioxide saturation. The risks are highest for the elderly and patients with respiratory problems. Are you kidding me? Do you believe that?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll have to reconsider blasting my my fan right at me all night.
I do too. I have a fan. Hey, man.
If I didn't, I'd be in a puddle.
Yeah, me too. Hypothermia. Yeah, look at me. Oh, yeah, I'm suffocating. I couldn't sleep without my fan. Wow, isn't that odd? Because South Korea is a highly educated population.
Well, we have to remember not to go there.
Yeah, hey, man. Yeah.
Maybe just for the day.
Yes, just a day trip to South Korea, perhaps, but we wouldn't be able to sleep there. All right, Suze, we're done. You go off and go meet your new personal trainer.
Yes, I am. I'm going to see my new personal trainer
Okay.
today, and I think I'm going to take the DOG to the PARK.
I remember that, having to spell around the DOG. It's so funny. Okay, well, give the DOG a nice little kiss for me. And,
I will. He's a very sweet DOG.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Suze.
Bye.
Bye. And I don't know. I'll say it, but I don't want to. Go Pens. Please. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.